Hello, welcome or welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by, I hope you're good. And welcome to what I am fully assuming is a rage read. If you missed it, I received in a Bomb Book Club The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Core. Now, Cassandra Core wrote a book called Nothing But Blackened Teeth, which I was super excited for. I read it in one go and have never been so full of rage and disappointment in my life. It has very quickly become known as my most hated book of all time. So when I received this, I was, to be frank, devastated.
I think we got kind of...
Oh no. Oh, it's the worst thing that could happen. It's Cassandra Core's new book. No! Okay. Wow. So when I received this, I was like, I'm gonna rage read it. I'm gonna rage read it. So that's what we're doing today. See, look, I think that is really cool. But I thought the same thing of Nothing But Blackened Teeth, and then it was just terrible. So I'm gonna read you the inside flap. And also, just a side note, I do have other clothes. I do. But at the minute, I am just living in my Attack on Titan jumpers, and I realised that if I schedule this where I think it's going to be scheduled, I'll be wearing black Attack on Titan hoodie, green Attack on Titan hoodie, black Attack on Titan hoodie in the thumbnails, which is fine, I don't mind, but I just thought I would say I do have other clothes, but at the minute, the Attack on Titan hoodies are kind of like the comfort blanket. I do have another hoodie arriving with this exact style, but it's for Skate the Infinity. So we might actually see some like change up in the clothes, but don't hold your breath, okay? You're probably going to see a lot of Attack on Titan merch being worn. It is what it is. Back to the rage vlog. Let me read you the inside front cover. Then I'm going to make a tea. We're going to get settled somewhere and we're just going to do this. We're just going to get through it, okay? Myths are full of lies. This is not one of them. Fleeing the downfall of an empire, a mermaid and her plague doctor companion escape into the eerie shadows of a wintry forest. Amongst the bark and snow, they are drawn into ancient games for ageless children, a murderous hunt of blood and sacrifice, deep in the woods where three who call themselves saints rule over them all like gods. Trapped in a feverish nightmare of masked monsters, stitches and surgeons, and needled teeth, the mermaid must embrace all of her cruelty and hungers to free the children. Now, I don't know whether that sounds good or whether I have no idea what that means, you know? But I was tricked by Nothing But Blackened Teeth, which also sounded very good. Oh, this is signed. It's signed. I don't think I even noticed that in the when I unboxed it, because I was just already raging. For Jeff Solomon, this is what you get for not giving up on me. That's a threat. Okay. Right, well, I'll make a tea. And then let's just see, okay? Wouldn't it be amazing if I loved this? I don't think I'd ever live it down. Okay, I have my tea. The dust jacket is off. I think I'm ready. Ignore any mess behind me. Let's do this. Literally the first paragraph, and there's already been a bit that I'm like, what does that mean? So I'm like 18 pages in, and I don't think I'm hating it as much, but I mean, genuinely, let's not count our chickens because it started on page 9. So I'm actually only 9 pages in, right? But this is a perfect example of the problem I have with Cassandra Core's writing, is that I genuinely don't think it makes sense. You know, in that Friends episode where Joey is writing the letter of recommendation for Monica and Chandler for the adoption agency, and he uses a thesaurus on every word and ends up signing it like baby kangaroo Tribbiani? I know that these words, I know what they mean, but it just makes the sentence feel so stilted, okay? It says, strange how natural this feels, this configuration of phalanges and dermis. Like, why? What is the reason? It just makes it so, like, overly complicated. Okay, let me continue. I'm now on page 26. It's just all so unnecessary. You know, like, just the way that she writes is so unneeded. It's complicated for the sake of being complicated. Maybe I'm too dumb for it, but it's just like every other word I have to really think about what the hell it means. And I don't want to be reading something that feels like I have to look up every other word. And then when I look it up, I find that it's really not as complicated as it's being made to. Like it's being overly complex for what it's actually trying to say. Does that make sense? It makes sense to me. Let me try a bit more. What? Okay. So I've completed what I'll refer to as like the first chapter because it's like the first night. Cassandra Core has picked a couple of words that she really likes. So I think it's taiga, which I had to look up, and it's like a swampy forest. She's sticking with that. Dermis, she's loving dermis, and she's loving gilded. Everything's gilded, and I've noticed that they're getting repeated quite a lot. There was some kids at the start of this, like she had 2 children. I don't know whether that's in the synopsis because I didn't really understand the synopsis, but she has these 2 kids and I don't know where they are. I don't know whether we've gone back in time. I'm just super confused. The frustrating thing is that the bones of a story are there. Like the bones of a story that I would like are there. It's really interesting. But the execution of it is just so convoluted for no reason. All these words that you constantly have to be like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? It's like, is it me? Am I being too stupid for it? Or is it just like, is there not another word that we could have used? I don't know. So I'm 40 pages in of 125. I need to take a break to make some dinner. So I'm going to go and make mine and Jensen's dinner. Danny is out, so he'll just have something when he gets in. I'm going to take this down with me, and I'm going to take you down with me. And whilst pizzas are cooking, I will attempt to continue this. So let's go. Okay, Jensen has his pizza and mine is cooking, and I've got to page 50. And there's a couple of other words that I've noticed are being repeated quite a bit. The colour indigo is being used a lot, but every time the colour blue is used, it has a descriptor. I think we've had like dead man blue, which I'm not really sure drowned man blue, which I'm not really sure what that's supposed to be, and something else, Medusa something about Medusa blue, and I'm like, that doesn't really give me a visual. Like, that's just confusing. Phalange is used quite a lot, which just makes me think of Friends. It just makes me think of Phoebe, Regina Phalange. And there was another word that was used a couple of times, paroxysms, which I looked up. Hold on, let me remind myself what the hell it means. A sudden attack or outburst of a particular emotion or activity, which is fine. It's a good word to use. However, because these words are not as common, they're not a common word, each one feels like a choice. So it's a choice to have used that word. And so it becomes noticeable when that word gets used, like, again and again. The plot is there, but I can't get past the writing. I can't. Like, there's parts of the plot that I'm really intrigued by, but the writing, it's not even flowery. It is just so convoluted. Like, it's really hard to follow because it feels like it's being complicated for no reason. I'm frustrated because now I'm torn, because the plot is actually not terrible, like Nothing But Blackened Teeth, where the plot was just not in existence. There is a plot, which is an improvement. And the writing is technically better, but it's too much. It's too much. This is a 125-page novella, and not even that. It's more like 110, if you take away, because it starts on page 9. It doesn't need to be this complex. And I think the thing I'm really struggling with is following who these people are, because I've kind of been dropped in it, which is fine, but it's trying to give me backstory, but the backstory doesn't necessarily make sense. Like, I'm unsure how long the mermaid and the plague doctor have known each other. I still don't know where her children are. I'm just confused. That's yeah, that sums up the book. I'm confused. The words are confusing me. I'm confused about who they are. I'm just confused about the whole thing, and it's such a shame because this time round, there is like the bones of a plot that would be really, really good, but it's still not doing it for me. Do I hate it as much as Nothing But Blackened Teeth? No, not yet anyway. Am I enjoying it? No. Might get a 2-star rather than a 1-star, so it's an improvement. But let's see how things progress, shall we? Okay, it is quite a bit later. I'm now up to the 3rd night, so like chapter 3. So I'm on page 77. It's taken me a lot longer to read than expected. I did get a little bit distracted by dinner and things like that. But it's also just a slog. Like, it's just really hard to read. This is one of the most frustrating books ever because the plot is so there. I can see it. And it is a plot that I would enjoy. But the way it's written, this constant need to use like the most intelligent sounding word is making it stilted. There's no flow to the writing. It's just so hard to read. I'm also like slightly confused about what the purpose of making her a mermaid is, because apart from her talking about alluding to her time in the ocean, I can't really see that there's a purpose to her being a mermaid. Like, they could have picked something else. I'm also not sure if it's meant to be set in like our world, because I assumed it was like a fantasy world, but then there was this weird passing comment about pelicans And do they speak French when no one's around? It was like some weird hypothetical this guy was putting forward, and I was like, so is it meant to be our world? Because they keep referencing like the Bible, and I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be like a Bible or the Bible, if that makes sense. And so now I'm just confused. I also have come to the conclusion that she did leave the children behind, that they're still like a plague on the kingdom that she's left. But I'm just super confused by that whole point of it, if I'm honest. Like, there's things that have been put in that just don't really seem needed. And the bits that I would actually enjoy, I can't enjoy it. I can't. And it is not just because I've come in with like a negative attitude, because I was actually pleasantly surprised by the plot, because Nothing But Blackened Teeth, there's no plot to be found. Like, there was an attempt at a plot, but it didn't work. This one, there's a plot there. It's buried in like intelligent writing and confusion. I think we can safely say Cassandra Core is not an author for me. But I'm determined to finish this. I'm determined. I've got like 48 pages left. I'm determined to do it, but oh my god, I did not expect it to take this long to read 125 pages. Another word that is being repeated a lot is viscera, and she seems to have like a aversion to just using colours, but just like normal colours. I mean, they are colours, but it's just like just constantly using vermilion. Is that a colour? What colour is vermilion? I don't know. Hang on. It's red, apparently. That makes sense. But I shouldn't have to keep looking up words to understand what the hell is going on. And to understand the what things look like. Indigo's been used again and again since I mentioned it before. What was the other thing that I noticed? I don't know. I can't remember. But it's just like it's so frustrating a read when wait. I'm just repeating myself now, but it's hard. It's hard work because so many things, the way that they're said just doesn't make any sense. Like I don't know what she's trying to say. What was it here? I can't really read that bit to you because it might be spoilery if you do plan to read it. I feel like nothing I've said is like a major spoiler so far, so I'd like to keep it that way. Oh, if I find a good example of what I'm trying to explain, I'll come back to you. But I'm on page 89. I am so close. I'm so close. I'm gonna try not to come back to you now until I've finished it, and then I'm gonna just lay it all out. I know I said I wouldn't come back until it's finished, but there was one phrase I actually really liked. She said, the blank said nothing, the blank said less. She's just done it again. The blank said nothing, the blank said less. Obviously, blank is something else, but I'm trying not to, It was good the first time. The second time, it just made me groan because I'm already noticing this repetition of words, and now we're repeating whole phrases. I'm so tired. It's over. It's over. Okay. Good things. I didn't hate it as much as Nothing But Blackened Teeth. So that's an improvement. There was a plot. There was a semblance of a plot. It was short. Listen, I knew it would be a miracle for like the plot twist to happen where I actually really loved it. But I did not hate it. But I didn't like it. It was messy. Really, really messy. Like I said, Cassandra Clare found those words and she stuck with them. She stuck with them. Maybe that was like a stylistic choice, but my God, it was getting tiresome. Like, I noticed these words being repeated again and again and again, and it was frustrating. I can't even remember what happened. There was one point where I literally went, oh God, I wish I'd still been filming. It might have been when paroxysm was said again. I can't even say the word. Here is the problem. And I'm going to put this down. Here's the problem. And I've said this in my updates whilst I've been reading this today. The plot is lost. It's lost because you have to dig it out of this writing style that is attempting to be as clever as possible. And I've got nothing against flowery writing. The Night Circus, one of my favourite books, has very flowery writing. This was like modernized classic writing. You know, like where sometimes classics, or at least for me, sometimes classics can feel really stilted because it doesn't follow like a tempo. It doesn't flow the way that we speak now. You know, it might have worked back then because people maybe spoke that way or had a better understanding of that. But that kind of like inflection and things that is in classical writing doesn't gel with me because I find it difficult to follow. I understand that's not the case for everyone because classics are classics for a reason, but I find them difficult because my brain doesn't speak that way. And so even if it's like not really a complicated section, it takes time for my brain to kind of understand what's happening because I'm just trying to decipher the words. And that's kind of what was happening here, is that I was constantly trying to decipher what the words meant because the words that had been chosen were very like intellectual, I guess. And listen, I'm not stupid. I'm not a stupid person, but there were so many words in that where I just had no clue what it meant. And I don't want to have a book and a dictionary open at the same time to understand what the hell was going on. I found it really frustrating and strange that what I thought was the end of the book. Okay, so we had 3 chapters and an epilogue, and I was like, oh, thank God. After the epilogue, there's like I don't know, 10-15 page short story. Bearing in mind this is already a novella. And the short story is like a prologue to the book and tells you what happened to her before the book. My God, put that at the start. Put it at the start of the book. Make that the first chapter. Why is that hidden after the epilogue? Because if I'd had that information, which showed me that her and the plague doctor had known each other before all this went down and gave me some kind of understanding of what happened, I wouldn't have spent the first half of this book wondering about how they knew each other and what happened to the kids, the daughters that she had, because it was in that section. So why wasn't that at the beginning of the book? I don't understand that choice. I really don't. I think this is supposed to be set in a version of our world because remember how I said that it was talking about pelicans speaking French? Well, it then referenced China. And I just genuinely am so confused. I'm so confused because I was like, when is this meant to be set? Is this like our world? I don't understand because nothing else about it felt like it was in our world apart from the references to France and China. Everything else felt like it was in some kind of like fantasy world. So that threw me. But to be honest, it just comes down to the writing. It's not terrible this time round. There is definite improvement, but it's still not good because it's relying too much on using the most I keep saying the word intelligent, but the most like well, I'm going to say it, the most intelligent word for the situation, and it just gets, you get bogged down in it, because it's like, I still feel like I lost a lot of the plot because I didn't understand what the words meant, and I couldn't be bothered to keep looking them up. Like, I looked up so many words and then I just got tired of doing it. And the epilogue was a choice. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad choice, but I don't feel like it fit with the rest of the book. It's at 2 stars. It's 2 stars. It could be worse. It could have got 1 like Nothing But Blackened Teeth, but this is still, it's not great. And I know that it's a novella, but I've read novellas with complex stories that come across well. This does not. And I also think that part of that is because we spend a lot of time over describing something. So you get like a description and then a like alternate description almost. I wish I could, let me see if I can find an example. I probably won't be able to now. I can't find anything. Of course I can't, and I just don't want to read this anymore. We had obviously the repetition of words, we had the repetition of phrases, and we just had this overcomplicated way of explaining anything, so that I felt nothing for the characters. And you compare that to like A Psalm for the Wild Built, which I don't think is much longer, maybe a little bit longer, but the connection that I felt to Dex and Moscap in that book is insane. I felt totally distanced from the characters. I felt totally distanced from everything that was going on, if I'm honest. And there was a lot going on. There was a lot of like horror stuff going on, and it was there, but I couldn't get to it. It was always kind of at arm's length, you know, because I just couldn't get through the kind of trenches of this overly complicated writing. So maybe, I hope this was entertaining for you guys. Like I said, didn't hate it as much as Nothing But Blackened Teeth, but it's definitely not a win, and definitely confirms that Cassandra Clare is not an author for me. Will I read anything that she writes again? Not voluntarily, but if a McDonald book club send it to me, we'll read it as like a experiment, because I mean, it's gone up by a star rating, 1 to 2, and it didn't fill me with rage, and there was plot, so maybe next time it'll be different. But I do not get her writing style at all. Not for me. So that's it. I hope it was entertaining for you. I'm very tired now. I want to go and read something better, something that I enjoy. Hopefully, if you are planning on reading this, I didn't give you any spoilers. I really tried not to give you any spoilers. Like, I haven't even told you what the plot is, because, you know, some people want to read it, and that is your call. But if you do want to know anything about the plot, DM me. Let me know any thoughts that you have in the comments below, or if you just want me to know you're here. That purple heart is always appreciated. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed and you'd like to see more bookish content from me, remember to hit that button, leave a like if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!